Black male spirituality, back again with another message. As always, I want to shout out all of my high vibrational, high value brothers. Also, want to send love to all the lovely high vibrational ladies who may be listening. Hope everyone's doing well this fine weekend. So, I think most of us have been seeing this whole cheesecake factory debacle video. The woman who complains about Cheesecake Factory, and, as always, I'll give my reaction to the video and talk about things from a spiritual, moral, and practical perspective, like I always do. I think this is actually my first TikTok reaction, so this should be fun. So we're going to get right into it and share our screen. This is always the fun part of the process. So right off the bat, you're given the stage set. First date, she refuses to get out of the car because he took her to Cheesecake Factory. You see the woman, supposedly dressed up. I see she has the sunglasses on and I was listening to Minister Jap the other night, the Brandy, I want to be down with you braids and low cut top. It's very bright green, and the lipstick color is an interesting choice as well. It's very interesting pink, and then the brown shades. So, I don't know if you'd call that matching or not, but and one thing I also wanted to say before I start the video is I know there's this whole thing, oh, it's a skit, it's a skit, it's a skit, and it could be a skit. Who knows? I personally don't think it's a skit. Just looking at how they're speaking, the reactions, the way they're speaking. I mean, it seems pretty genuine to me. The other thing is that even if it is a skit, it's going viral for a reason. And I would assert that it's going viral because a lot of people can relate to this scenario. It resonates with a lot of people. It resonates with a lot of people because, this type of thing happens. There's a lot of women who have a lot of expectations of the kinds of dates they want to be taken on, but they're, wanting a man to invest with no guarantee of anything. And, to be honest, there's really no guarantee with dating or talking to people. You never know if the person will ghost you or say they're not interested ultimately. But there shouldn't be guarantees on either side. A man shouldn't expect that a woman's going to hook up on the first date. A woman shouldn't expect that a guy is going to take her to a fancy restaurant and pay for everything on a first date either. I personally will pay for a first date, but certainly not the kinds of things we'll hear her say she was expecting. But at any rate, let us press play.
Let me just get the door for you.
Okay. He got me at the Cheesecake Factory, y'all. I ain't getting out this car. Mm-mm. Yes.
So again, I'm going to try to do better about not pausing every few seconds. But if you paid attention, she's essentially locked this man out of his own vehicle. So the audacity right off the bat is, pretty interesting. I mean, again, this is one of the points where I think, oh, okay, I could see why people say that this is a skit. But I mean, we see in the news all the time. Shout out to Pink Book Lesson. She's covering stories all the time about, women, unfortunately, Black women, doing some pretty ridiculous things caught on video. So I don't think it's necessarily beyond the realm of possibility here. Let's continue.
Yes.
Would you want me to open the door for you?
Look.
Are you're recording me?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the Cheesecake Factory. This is the Cheesecake Factory, y'all.
What's the problem with that?
This is a chain restaurant. Who takes someone that looks like this to a chain restaurant?
You want to talk about it? I'm fine with talking about it, even in front of them.
Oh, yeah, I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Come on, get it.
So part of me can understand, the lack of appeal for a chain restaurant. I don't really eat at chain restaurants that much myself. Applebee's, Cheesecake Factory, TGI Fridays, places like that. I prefer, hole in the wall type spots. Some sort of ethnic food, Ethiopian food, Jamaican food, Caribbean food, Korean barbecue, that kind of thing. But at the same time, there's actually a lot of nice restaurants that are chains. Gordon Ramsay owns a chain of restaurants, and he's considered to be one of the best chefs in the world. There's a really high-end sushi restaurant that's technically a chain. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Nobu. They have one in Las Vegas that I know of, and one in Atlanta that I know of. So, I mean, there's a lot of restaurants that are considered nice restaurants that are chains. Ruth Chris is a chain. On the other hand, there's a lot of restaurants who aren't chains. If you think back to a show like Kitchen Nightmares, which they recently brought back, those restaurants are not chains, and there's a reason why they're not chains. So this whole false equivalency, chain means quality versus not chain chain means low quality, or not chain means quality. I mean, that's a false equivalency, and it's kind of ridiculous and kind of an illogical point of view. But again, I don't do chains. I typically don't take women to chains. I mean, I'll take them to a dive bar, which is typically not a chain, or some tavern close to where I live. Chill, casual, but still fairly decent place. That's what I do on first dates. Or coffee. That's another one.
Going in the car. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it.
And it's also funny that she, has this guy on camera and is like, oh, we're going to talk about it in front of all these people who you did not consent to speak in front of. But the guy decides to indulge her.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So you expect a man to go all out on the first date. Is that right?
I mean, you're supposed to. When you take out a beautiful woman and you're courting her, because I get courted. So you're
Ma'am, you're not an ugly woman, but let's not pretend like you're the most attractive woman in the world who just expects men to just take them to very high end places all the time. Even if you were that, you still shouldn't be expecting stuff like that. I mean, ma'am, again, not to be mean, but, just looking at you in this video, it doesn't look like you're in 100% the shape you really should be. You're probably a little overweight, at least, probably a little bit more, possibly morbidly obese. So again, it's not to be mean, but you want this guy right here to be perfectly doing everything you want him to do, spending a bunch of money, but you don't invest in yourself the way you should. You're not perfect either. You probably could use some time at the gym. This gentleman probably could have taken you out on a gym date or on a hike date. So let's not cap, ma'am, with all due respect. And then two, this whole I get courted thing that she's saying. Ma'am, if you get courted, why aren't you married yet? You're not, again, this isn't be rude, but you do look like, you're probably at least in your mid to late 30s, if not 40s. So if you get courted, why haven't any of the other men who courted you married you? And maybe that's something you really need to look at yourself and ask yourself some challenging questions about.
you're courting her, right? You're supposed to take care of her. You're supposed to cover her. You're supposed to protect her, cherish her, treat her well, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
I agree.
Not
I
at the
went
Cheesecake
into this
Factory?
date as I expect, with the expectations for myself, to keep you safe, to respect you, to pay for your food, of course, pick you up, of course, and just treat you like a gentleman, which I believe I have done.
I mean,
Treating someone well does not require them to spend an inordinate amount of money on a first date where you're trying to fill the person out to see, and she's trying to fill you out to see if you guys are a match. Protecting, covering, really that's something you get from something that's a little more serious. I mean, really, you're supposed to get that through marriage. But at minimum, you need to actually have an established relationship to be covered and protected. Obviously, if you're, if a gentleman is out with you, and something happens, obviously he should be attending to your safety and his, and, trying to, do what he can to get both of you to a safe place or get both of you to somewhere where you can get some help. But spending a bunch of money on a fancy restaurant has nothing to do with protection or covering. And she's about to downplay. He's like, well, you've been nice. Well, if he's been nice, then what's the issue, ma'am?
You've been pretty nice, but I mean,
and then
Cheesecake Factory.
I, on the other hand, have certain expectations for a girl I go out with on the first date. I expect her to be respectful too. I expect her to be cooperative, and at least
what did I do that wasn't cooperative?
Well, I mean, like even when we were walking to the car, you wouldn't put your hand around my arm or anything like that, or hold my hand or anything like that.
I mean, it's too early for that.
Okay.
I don't know you.
I can respect that. I can respect that. Okay. When I got to your apartment to pick you up, you didn't want to invite me in. I can respect that too. We're not
again.
I don't know there
yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet.
And then, but
I mean, I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do as a woman.
But
I got myself all made up.
There's nothing wrong with the Cheesecake Factory, right?
Yes, there's a lot wrong with the Cheesecake Factory.
Okay, well look at my planner where we were gonna go originally.
See, now that's where we should have went. All right there. Call him.
No.
What do you mean no?
See, I specifically told you both yesterday and this morning that I'd come to pick you up at 4 p.m. Right? And I got to your place at 4 p.m. You didn't even come downstairs for another hour, and so I was waiting downstairs for an hour. Right?
But I wasn't expecting for work to take me so long. I got home a little late, and like I said, I don't.
Now, part of this, again, I've been kind of going in at her, but on this channel, I like to talk to the brothers about our role in a lot of this. The way she's acting, she acts like this pretty regularly, and she probably acts like this online. I don't know how this gentleman met her, but this is why discernment is so important. All this attitude and entitlement and bravado and the whole, oh, of course you should take me on a date. Women who talk like that and behave like that, if you met them online, for instance, whether it's on Tinder, dating, Hinge or another dating app, or even, if you're into kink and you go on FetLife, you'll see how women like this talk, and they will give themselves away pretty clearly. All these expectations and obligations they want to impose on men to even talk to them. There's some women who want them to cash app them first. You can usually read that. And then, the pictures she's taking, the way she's posing. I mean, all of that should have given this man some signs that, this may not have been the one, really. Now, what probably happened is, appears this man is an Indian gentleman and this woman's a black woman. He probably was feeling a little hot and heated about maybe some of her butt pictures or something like that, or her boob pictures. And I know a lot of women throw around fetishizing and all that, probably overstate it sometimes, but I mean that could have been real. You're looking at this big booty black woman. It's like, I've never dealt with that before. I'm a little curious, and you ignored all the signs leading up to this date. And then two, okay, we'll give you, maybe you didn't pick it up on her profile, or you didn't pick it up during the first meet. Now, if they met in person, side point, if they met in person, he should have seen these signs and these indicators, especially if he approached her, at a club or at a bar or, wherever else, she would have had a little attitude coming up, the whole crap testing that the dating coach is talking about. She probably would have done that. So, but even if he missed all of those initial signs, whether it was on the dating app, the profile, if they had a phone call, The fact that she made you wait for an hour really should have tipped you off to maybe this isn't the move. But again, a lot of men, I talk specifically to black men on this channel, but men in general, it's like we got to get past this heavy lust we have. You look at somebody's butt pics on IG and look at her shape or whatever. And hey, I'm a man too. I like seeing that as well. But you can't let that short circuit your ability to discern someone and your ability to have some self-control, self-control enough to say, hey, I see some red flags. I do not want to proceed. But, again, a lot of us get, distracted by the superficial and we miss some of the important things. I mean, the fact that she's not even really in good shape is a red flag by itself. Even if you are going for the complete physical, you ain't attracted to that for anything serious. You probably prefer someone who's closer to being in shape. But, recreational use and all this stuff, maybe he thought he'd get lucky. Let's continue.
I don't know you well enough to invite you up into my apartment. And that is not possible.
And that's why I'm thinking, okay, if we're not there in the relationship to, meet at your apartment, then maybe we're not ready in a relationship for such a nice, fancy restaurant as Aria. Especially if I'm paying for the whole thing. Which I'm still willing to do. I would have been. Okay. But if we're late, I told you twice.
So, sir, again, kind of shifting toward holding the man accountable. Sir, you're not in a relationship with this woman. And look at this face that I paused on. I mean, really, if you had met her before in person, she would have been making faces like this. If you read her profile, she would have been displaying an attitude that's in line with this goofy face she's making right now. All this rolling her eyes and, just attitude. So you're not in a relationship. You haven't even been out with this woman before. You're just trying to get to know her. Like I said earlier, I take a woman to a tavern or maybe a coffee house of some kind. Not so much coffee these days. I'll go to a bar, maybe a dive bar, somewhere close to me, somewhere close to her, and we'll talk. We'll have a couple of beers, maybe order an appetizer or two, and leave it at that. The women I take out to nice places are women who I know care about me, like my ex-girlfriend. I took her out to so many nice spots around my city and, and even in other states that we would go visit, because I knew she cared about me and she had respect for my money. I probably spent more on myself on those dates, to be honest, than I did on her. But, she was respectful of my money. There's times where I'd give her money, for like to get her a ride back, if she needed a ride or to be picked up and I wasn't able to do it, I'd, say, hey, here's $20 for Uber, and I remember one time I did that and she sent the money back to me. I Venmoed it to her. She sent it back to me. So, she showed a lot of respect for my money and, respect for me as a person and care and concern about me as a person. Even when we were in the lockdown, her concern was wanting me to just spend time with her, even if it was just at home, just us talking or doing an activity together or watching something together. She was more concerned about me as a person and just like I was concerned about her as a person. Those are the kind of women you take on trips and that you fly out and that you take to fancy restaurants. I got a buddy of mine, he's a bit older than me. He said he wouldn't even do trips until he's married to a woman. So there's that. But sir, you're not in a relationship with this woman. And really, I think if you were really paying attention or if you were honest with yourself, I don't know which it is, you aren't paying attention or you're not being honest with yourself, you should see that she's not really interested in a relationship with you. At best, she could be one of those divester types who doesn't like black men for whatever reason and is trying to date out and all that kind of thing. But that's at best. She doesn't really care about you as a person. She's probably not physically attracted to you. She's attracted to probably this, nice looking car. We can't see the whole vehicle in this clip, but it does look like it's, looking at the sunroof and all that and the leather seats. At any rate, let's continue.
It wasn't that late.
We literally left your place at the time the reservation was supposed to be. And I specifically said 4 because maybe we could get there early and even have some time to get to know each other on the way there and while we're in the parking lot.
I mean,
and waiting for a reservation.
We can still get to know each other. Isn't there another restaurant you can call that, like, you know, the equivalent to that? I mean,
I literally
you don't
just said,
understand.
She's like, oh, we can get to know each other. And then she just jumps right back to the superficial. Is there another restaurant that's the equivalent of Aria, which I've been to Vegas before. I've seen the Aria building. I don't know if they have one in the city I live in, but I've seen Aria. It does look like an expensive place. I didn't even know it was a restaurant. I thought it was a high-end hotel casino type thing. But, oh, she wants to get to know you, but then she jumps back. Oh, here's where I want to eat. Someone who is wanting to get to know someone doesn't really care that much about where the date is taking place. They may care, like, you're taken to a seafood spot. It's like, oh, I'm allergic to seafood. I'm allergic to shellfish. Or, you're asking them to go hiking. I mean, hiking's a good date, but oh, maybe she doesn't want to be alone with somebody she doesn't know well yet, or Netflix and chill. That's, I understand stuff like that. Even stuff like going to McDonald's. I mean, you should do better than McDonald's, I think, but again, Cheesecake Factory, it's not the most expensive place in the world, but it's a good place, to eat. It's not really my favorite spot, but again, he is putting in some kind of effort. He's willing to pay for your meal, which, that's not enough course. Ladies, just like men shouldn't be expecting you to put out just because you bought them a drink or they took you out. You shouldn't expect for them to just pay your tab. I have really good friends of mine. I got a good buddy of mine who sometimes we go out, he picks up the whole tab. We make comparable amounts of money. He makes a bit more than I do, but I don't just expect him to just be paying for every time we hang out. And sometimes I try to offer to pay on my end, even though I don't have as much in funds as he does. All this expecting things. The only time I sort of expect it is, if I'm spending time with, my immediate family and my parents take everybody out to eat, they usually pay for stuff, but they're parents, even then I'm a grown man. I should be able to pay my tab if I needed to, although there's certain things I'd want to order if that was the case that my parents wouldn't approve of for religious reasons. And well, there's other reasons too, but I digress from that. All this expectation and using, and again, it's just like with the whole, using women just for a hookup. I mean, guys shouldn't do that. I preach that all the time on the channel, but women, you shouldn't be using guys for experiences and trips to restaurants for meals that you can't afford. We need to stop this using thing that's, gotten to the dating culture.
Understand. Look at me. I cannot go in the Cheesecake Factory.
There's nothing wrong
I will die. That's okay. Embarrassing.
Listen, as I said, I have very specific certain expectations for that. I can tell it's not gonna be there. And maybe we're not right for each other. So respectfully, I'm gonna just drop you off at home.
Oh no, he didn't.
It's deeper than that. She's low vibrational, man. And this is, this video, I haven't heard people call this guy a simp in any of the stuff I watched before, but this is simping because in my perspective, from a spiritual perspective, a simp is a man, and you may not even want to call him a man, but a man who puts a low vibrational woman on a pedestal, or is, trying so hard to gain the approval of a woman who isn't a match for him. But even if that were the case, a woman who's not a vibrational match, but still not necessarily a low vibrational woman, she will just say, I don't think we click like that. And she will excuse herself from the date. And, she'd probably pick up her own tab if you guys had already gone to the dinner and realized that you guys aren't compatible. But yeah, this is simping. This is what simping is. Simping is not doing nice things for a woman who actually cares about you and who's positive and who's connected to spirit, who's connected to her higher self. That's not simping, because that woman, for the record, won't even let you put her on a pedestal, and she will call you out if you try. I've seen it before. So, but yeah, this attitude, I mean, she's oozing negative energy and he's right next to her. I don't even know how he's not sensing that because I can sense negativity when I'm in the space of someone who's in a low vibrational space.
Yeah. I'm a,
So you just want to call it a night?
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
isn't there some kind of compromise or something?
no.
Ladies, can you believe this?
I'm sorry, y'all.
He's
But
out of the parking space.
If I don't feel
Can you
respected,
see?
I
I
am
mean,
not gonna go through with the rest of the day.
Well, I mean, you are serious. You really leaving?
Yeah. I mean, you didn't want this place anyway, right?
I mean, I understand that I was late.
Look at the energy shift that happened there. She knows she's low vibrational, so she's trying to come across like she's willing to be higher in her vibrations and to be considerate and respectful. It's like you see that shift. This is what when guys talk about the whole chameleon thing. This is what she's trying to do. It's too late. Buddy's caught on to her finally.
I understand that. I understand that I could have been a bit more cooperative. You made some good points. That's why I'm willing to compromise. Are you sure you want to go home?
I don't have a lot of rules. I don't have.
Ma'am, there's no compromising with you. Yeah, you say you got yourself dolled up, which again, you aren't even necessarily in the most elegant or higher end type of attire right now. I mean, some people would say it's a little trashy the way you're dressed right now. Again, I'm not going to be that harsh, but so there's no compromise. What were you going to do for him? If you're going to compromise with somebody, what are you going to negotiate on your end? You don't even want to hold his hand or have his arm placed around you. I bet you weren't going to give him a good night kiss. Again, it's not that, we're expecting that or this is, some kind of transaction, but it's just like you just think you have to just show up and let this guy spend a bunch of money on you. That there's no compromise in that. You're going to split the tab? Are you going to buy the first round? Are you going to take care of the tip? What are you compromising on your end? You going to pay him for his gas?
A lot of expectations for a first date, but I've already set them, and you've broken every one.
Oh
So
my God.
I'm sorry. We're dropping you off home.
All right, whatever. Well, I mean, I guess I understand. You got to do what you got to do. I understand where you're coming from.
And it's always when someone's already acted like a low vibrational fool that they're sorry. So there you have it. Just some closing thoughts. You know, this, didn't go as bad as it could have gone. Again, it's like, oh, it's a skit. It's a skit. Okay, let's just assume it's real. This could have gone a lot worse. She could have been acting crazy when he said he's going to take her home, and it could have been a physical kind of thing. He could have started acting crazy with how disrespectful she was acting. This is why discernment is so important. It didn't hurt him that much now, but if it had gone worse, it would have gone worse and things would have gone horribly because you didn't pick up on the issues ahead of time. Again, if you read somebody's profile, you meet someone for the first time, especially if you're a man approaching a woman, especially unfortunately, if it's a black woman, some of those stereotypes can be true. You would see the attitude, you'd see the negativity, you'd see the entitlement already. I mean, if you approach her at a club, she'd probably say, "Oh, you need to buy me a drink, and then we can have a conversation." It would have been something. So, and it's just so unfortunate too that the race element of this. You have a black woman dating or spending time, not dating, but spending time with a man from another race, and this just makes us look horrible. It makes our people look horrible. It makes our women look horrible. This gentleman, probably go back to his Indian friends and families like, oh, I dated a black woman and she was so disrespectful. She was so trashy. I mean, it's not a good look. And she's posting it on the internet for the whole world to see. So that could have gone. I mean, the gentleman looked like he, makes some money, given his vehicle. This could have blown back on your job or your business, whatever the case may be for you. A woman being on the phone streaming private conversations or what should be private conversations. There's just so many different ways that could have gone wrong. And, he's lucky it didn't. But, gentlemen, especially my brothers, we need to pay more attention. We can't just get distracted by the physical. Ladies, being rude is not cute. Because that's something I've noticed is like, there's a lot of ladies who will be rude to you. You'd message them for the first time and they think being snarky is funny or cute. It's not. Let's act like normal people with sense. Why don't we just do that? Yeah, I think we would, all of us, men would be able to find good women, women would be able to find good men if we would just all, act like we got some sense and acted normally with at least a minimal level of emotional intelligence. At any rate, brothers, let me know what you think. Please like and share this video. Please subscribe. If you watch this video, subscribe. I'm going to be more consistent with content. I really want to get positive messages out there. And, I'm using these videos as a tool because, they're going viral. People are paying attention to them. I'm using these videos as a tool to get these types of messages out. At any rate, remember, brothers, low vibrations are at an all-time high in this world, including the dating world. Stay high vibrational and be discerning. Namaste and peace to all.